So the Jets get the win, their second win in a row. They beat the Browns 27-20 at home. They now have 2 wins on the season. They're 2-7. It's not a lot, but it's definitely moving in the right direction. Before we get into this Jets recap, just a little housekeeping on the future of this channel. I will be doing Jets recaps after every game, for the rest of the season. I will try and do one on Thursday night. Um, After the Jets Thursday night game against the Patriots. I'm scheduled to leave at 8 o'clock, so I should be able to watch, most of the game. But I also work at an airport, and it's crazy now with the government shutdown. So we'll see how that works out. We'll see how late I have to stay. If I'm tired, I might just do it the next day. I mean, who knows? But the plan is on Sundays, after the Jets have their finish their game on Thursday. They'll be off the next Sunday, but the plan is to finish every Sunday with a Jets recap video of their game. Probably keep it to 10, 15 minutes, maybe a half hour. We'll see how long it goes. And then I'm going to be recording the episodes on Tuesday nights for the Kevin Bulkicki show. I'm going to put them out on Wednesday. And that's going to be moving them up from Thursday morning at 10 a.m. to Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. And then they'll be out on the radio the following Thursday night. So just a little update to this channel. I'm going to try and post more often and have more instant recaps on my channel. That way the algorithm sees it more often. The more I post, the more engagement I'll get. So the point of this channel is to grow. And if I'm just keeping everything to a 30-minute episode once a week, it's kind of limiting my ability to grow. So I'm going to be doing the Jets recaps. I work on Saturdays, so maybe I'll throw in a big Notre Dame win. Maybe I'll throw in a big South Carolina win if they're able to win another game this season, and we'll go from there. Might keep it light on the Islanders videos. Might post every once in a while about the Islanders. Hockey is one of my weaker sports, but probably won't hear anything about the Brooklyn Nets from me on this channel because there's literally no point in me talking about them because they're irrelevant. But we will talk about this New York Jets win. As I mentioned, their second win in a row. They beat both Ohio teams. And this was a pretty terrible game. I'm not going to lie. I was dreading watching this game. I didn't want to. The only thing that was keeping me watching this game was one, I wanted to be able to make an informed video, a recap after the game. And I haven't been able to watch a whole lot of Jets games this year because I used to work on Sundays. Now I don't. So I want to take advantage of the fact that I'm home and I'm able to watch this team because there's only 17 games each year. And I've only been able to watch two of them at home. I've only been able to watch the Monday night game against the Dolphins, and then I was able to watch. Actually, I wasn't able to watch the Bengals game. I missed that game. My first Sunday home was last week. The Jets were off, so then this was my first Sunday watching the Jets all season long. So I wanted to watch these games because I don't have the opportunity to, and I wanted to take advantage of that, despite how tired I am. So this game was not fun. The Jets scored 27 points, and if you would look at the score, you would think that this Jets team did a good job of putting up points against a good Browns defense, but that was just quite simply not the case. 3 of their touchdowns came on big plays. They had a huge kick return touchdown, a 99-yarder, then a 74-yard punt return touchdown. And then later on in the game, they had a long screen pass to Breece Hall for a touchdown on a play where it didn't even look like the Browns defenders were trying to tackle him. And right there, that's 21 of the 27 points. And then you just tack on 2 Nick Folk field goals. and that's the 27 points that the Jets were able to get. The Jets did nothing to move the ball offensively. I think they were like the middle of the second quarter before they even got a first down, and they still had scored points before that. I mean, this team is really pathetic offensively. They are anemic, and they were without Garrett Wilson again this week, and now he's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks with an ankle injury. So this offense is going to be pathetic and anemic. They're just going to have to run the ball like 50 times a game. They're going to either have to, hand the ball off to Breece Hall or do designed runs with Justin Fields, because Justin Fields is not physically capable of pushing the ball down the field. He's worse at it than Aaron Rodgers is, and Aaron Rodgers is like 15 years older than him. Like this offense was absolutely pathetic. They had just 169 total yards. They averaged 3.6 yards per play, just 42 passing yards. Holy crap. And 127 rushing yards. That's pretty good. 7 penalties for 61 yards. Not great, but the Browns had 10 for 78. So much worse on their end. The Jets did have a turnover. Justin Fields threw a terrible interception. But again, this team, once again, remains without an interception. And we are 9 games into the season. We are almost at Veterans Day. And this team still has yet to intercept a pass on defense. So maybe it was worth getting rid of those first-round draft picks for Sauce Gardner. So now let's talk about that, the whole trade deadline situation. The Jets move on from Sauce Gardner. They move on from Quinnen Williams. They move on from Michael Carter II. And they get quite the haul back. And most notably, they got 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. And it's looking like at least the one this year, the Colts pick is going to be pretty much an early second-round pick because they look really good. They're 8-2 right now after winning a game in overtime against the Falcons in Berlin. And Jonathan Taylor looks like he's an MVP candidate this year. He's been absolutely insane. Well over 200 total yards. I think he had 244 on the ground, 286 overall between the receiving and rushing. Fantastic game for Jonathan Taylor. He's my pick for the MVP. If not, him and Daniel Jones, honestly. But Daniel Jones did have a rough game in Berlin this week. But anyway, we're not talking about the Colts. We're talking about the Jets. The Jets were missing their 2 best defensive players. They were without Garrett Wilson, who I mentioned he's going to be out another 3 to 4 weeks with an injury. Who knows if he's even going to suit up for another game this year. So the Jets pretty much are rolling out Justin Fields, who can't throw the ball. And honestly, it was a terrible, terrible quote and comment by Woody Johnson saying that Justin Fields can't complete a forward pass. But he technically, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Justin Fields, between his passing and rushing numbers, had under 100 total yards. He cannot move the football. He's clearly not the option. He's not the solution. And, we're just throwing him out there every week. And it's almost like you're trying to lose at that point. I feel like the Jets, players say that they're not tanking. And Quincy Williams says that the goal is to go 1-0 every week. So they're going out there, they're trying to win these games and put their best effort out there. And it's just impossible to think that this team is actually trying to do anything when Justin Fields is the quarterback. There's a lot of players out there in the league. They're like, well, as long as he's on the field, you have a chance to win. Justin Fields is the antithesis of that. Sorry. If Justin Fields is on the field, there's always a chance that you can lose this game. And the Jets probably should have lost this game if it wasn't for stupid penalties on the Browns. The Browns were just absolutely dog water in this game. They just couldn't move the ball either on the Jets. Got to give a huge shout out to Will McDonald for getting 4 sacks in this game. He outplayed Myles Garrett, which is crazy. But this is not a good Browns team, and the Jets were able to find a way to win. And, I'm never going to apologize for my team winning a game. There's going to be people out there who are upset and angry that the Jets are winning games and they're lowering their draft pick and they're moving further away from the first overall pick. And if that's your takeaway from these games, I'm sorry, you're just watching football for the wrong reason. If you're rooting for your favorite team to lose, I'm sorry, there's just no room for you over here. You should root for another team because the famous quote from Herman Edwards is "You play to win the game." And I want to see this team put an effort out. I don't care about the draft picks because we've seen this team pick very highly in the draft. We've seen them draft quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, and it hasn't worked. Mark Sanchez, we thought it didn't work. In hindsight, he's the best quarterback, probably outside of Ryan Fitzpatrick, that I've ever seen suit up in a Jets uniform. And then we had to go from him to Sam Darnold to Zach Wilson. You throw in Geno Smith, you throw in Aaron Rodgers. We thought that, hey, maybe if we get an established quarterback instead of drafting one and trying to develop one, maybe that'll work. And that didn't even work. So there's no player in this draft or in the draft in the few years that I'm looking at as a savior for this franchise. There is no Andrew Luck quarterback that's coming out. There is no Lawrence Taylor on the defensive end that's going to wreck games for the Jets. Our only hope is that they find these diamonds in the rough, or that they're able to get enough draft capital to either make a lot of draft picks and hit on them, or trade them away for an established player. Because I have nothing left to give. I have no more energy and heart and faith left in any of these front offices because of the ownership. And it starts at the top with Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson needs to sell the team. As long as he's the owner of the Jets, I will never have faith that this team is ever going to be successful. If they ever are, it will be in spite of Woody Johnson and not because of him. So I'm already done, emotionally separated and completely, I don't know what the term I'm looking for. Like, I'm emotionally dejected. That's what I'm looking for. I'm emotionally dejected from the NFL draft. I don't care. I don't care about those draft picks. I want to see this team be competitive because the Jets finishing the season with the worst record in the NFL does nothing to benefit this team, especially when you just fired your other head coach, Robert Saleh. This was never, this is going to sound like loser behavior, but this was not about winning this season. The whole point of this season was to just see what you have. See if Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson were future pieces in a puzzle that would help you succeed later on down in the future. Obviously, they don't think that Sauce Gardner is a part of the future. They think that Garrett Wilson is, and probably they think that Breece Hall is as well. And I hope that Breece Hall stays with this team, and I hope that they sign him, and I hope that he's a contributing player on a playoff team in a few years. And I hope that team is the Jets. You never know. I mean, it's a crapshoot. But I want to see Aaron Glenn take control of this team and of this locker room, and I want them to buy into him. And it kind of looks like they have. As I mentioned in the post-game interview that Quincy Williams did, He said that the team's trying to go 1-0 every week, and that the first 7 games of the season don't matter. They've won their last 2 games, and as far as I know, next week is a whole new different game. You know, the Jets have to go on the road to New England. It makes me sick that the Patriots are good again. The Patriots went from having a dynasty to getting rid of Brady, rebuilding, and they are now at the top of the AFC East, all before the Jets made it back to the postseason. And this is just the world that we live in, that the Patriots are just a better run organization than the Jets, and they were able to rebound that quickly. So the Patriots are having a fantastic season again this year. It irritates me to my core. So who knows? Maybe the Jets will be able to go into Foxborough. It's on a Thursday night. Maybe the Patriots are kind of overlooking the Jets, and maybe the Jets, they won their last 2 games. Maybe they're feeling good. Maybe they go into Foxborough and they get a win. There's an opportunity for the Jets to win some games this season. Certainly, they play the Ravens in 2 weeks after they play the Patriots. I mean, it's a road game. Lamar Jackson is back. I don't expect him to win that game. They play the Falcons at home. The Falcons don't look good. They play the Dolphins at home. The Dolphins are a mess, although the Jets lost to them earlier this season. They play the Jaguars. The Jaguars look pretty decent. The Saints is another winnable game. And, I mean, who knows what's going to happen that last week of the season against the Bills. Perhaps at that point, the season has wrapped up for the Bills and they don't have anything to play for. They've got their playoff spot locked up. Maybe they've won the division by then. And, it's the last game at, was it Highmark Stadium? I still call it Ralph Wilson because that's what I know it as. But whatever their old stadium is, it's their last regular season game there. Maybe the Jets, embarrass the Bills, and the Bills end up choking in a game that they need to win. Certainly I remember the Jets going into Buffalo, having to win a game to make the playoffs and losing and not getting in. So who's to say that the same thing won't happen to the Bills? Maybe the Bills have everything lined up in front of them. All they have to do is beat the Jets. Justin Fields gets sacked 10 times, throws for 7 yards. Breece Hall runs for 200. The Jets win 2-0 on a safety. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? But the good thing is, of the 7 losses that the Jets have had this year, 5 of them have been one possession games. So the Jets are 2-5 this year in one possession games. They've only been blown out in 2 games this season. So they were playing competitive football for pretty much most of the season, and they were just falling up short. And now they're starting to make the plays to win games, and things are starting to turn. So maybe there's a reality where the Jets, instead of being 2-7, are maybe 5-4, 6-3. Maybe they beat the Steelers. Maybe they find a way to beat the Broncos. Maybe they kind of came close to beating the Dolphins. Maybe they ended up beating them. There's a reality in which this Jets team is a lot better than what they have. And I've always thought that they've had a pretty decent team talent-wise. They just haven't been able to put everything together. Now they're starting to trim the fat, get rid of the guys that haven't been contributing, and the other guys are stepping up. So we'll see what this leads to. We'll see what happens on Thursday night. But that does it for this recap of the Jets and the Broncos. Not the Jets and the Broncos, the Jets and the Browns. Sorry about that. But we will be back probably sometime next week following the Patriots and the Jets. So thank you for watching. You can follow me on social media at Kevin Blakicki on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Make sure you give this video a like, a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time.